Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Trey with TreyMixes.com. If it's your first time here, hit subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you know when we put out new videos. And you can head over to TreyMixes.com if you're interested in recording and mixing and pick up your free How to Use Saturation book. It's a cool download, cool private book with some private videos that you don't just get by searching on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about vocal compression, particularly serial compression or stacking compressors, which is a super cool tonal technique you can use to get the most energy and punch out of your vocals. So, I've been wanting to do this for a little while, but this is the first time that I've had the perfect example of a recorded track to show you guys how to do this. So, the first thing I want to show you is kind of see these peaks and valleys visually on this. Look and zoom in here so you can see this. What compressors tend to do is they control dynamics. And that's the first thing that they do that is principally important. So these big, louder sections versus these smaller sections, they'll turn down the loud part so you can turn up the lower volume part and get an even signal so that in your mix you can hear the soft parts of a sound or an instrument or vocal and the loud parts evenly so that nothing gets lost. So that's the basis of a compressor. But compressors all run on different type of circuitry. So on a emulation of one type of compressor is going to sound different than another type of compressor. So some people will use compressors to not only control dynamics, but also to control kind of the tone and the energy that is being conveyed to you through the vocal. The first things first, to help compressors get an even signal, sometimes you will come in and adjust volumes. So this guy, at normal volume, I cut out this section. At normal volume was somewhere in the neighborhood of here. And that's just, it was too low. It wasn't really affecting the compressor at all when the ceiling for the compressor, the threshold, was being set to affect these loud parts. So I'll come in and take these smaller volume sections and raise them up so that they're becoming affected by the compressor. The very first thing we're going to do is talk about why you would stack compressors instead of using one compressor. Let me turn off the rest of these compressors on this and pull up my favorite compressor in the world. I use this on all kinds of stuff. And we're just going to turn him off, and this way you can kind of hear the vocal, hear what we're working with, hear how dynamic it is up front.
He was everything a dad should be, and he loved us with all he had.
Okay, so you can hear some of the words are a little low in the mix, some are really poking out, so you would use a compressor to do the work of making that good and even so you could hear it. So in the case of adding just one compressor, though, to get it really even, you might end up doing 10 or 12 decibels worth of gain reduction. So let me turn this compressor way up high so you can hear what it sounds like when you slam something with a compressor.
Dad should be. He was everything a dad should be.
So you can see we are pummeling this with this compressor. I'll turn it on and off for you.
He was everything a dad should be. He was everything a dad should be.
So you can hear immediately when we turn it on and it's doing that much compression, it's giving us distortion. It's not letting some of the ups and downs of the vocal still happen. So trying to do all of your compression to get an even signal at once can have some really negative effects on the sound you're trying to go for. So in this case, we're going to try to split that up over 3 different compressors, get the tones and the warmth and the electric sounds from each of them, but still do a grand total number of decibel reduction, and it won't sound so dramatic. You don't want it to be very obvious that you're compressing the crap out of your signal.
He was everything a dad should be.
So we're already getting pretty good compression, and I'm going to try to do 3 to 5 decibels with each one of my compressors. So we could do another video later about some of these settings, but I want to just address the concept of splitting up your decibel reduction over several compressors. So here we're getting 3 to 5 on this one. You can bring in another one, which is a different style of circuitry. A different amount of compression will be added. There are different attack and release settings for each of these. And we'll add him in.
He was everything a dad should be. He was everything a dad should be.
Okay, so that's different settings on another compressor. And we have a third compressor. So we have 3 different compressors, 3 different types of circuitry, and the sound is running through each of them, getting 3 to 5 decibels of reduction per compressor.
He was everything a dad should be. He was everything a dad should be.
I'll turn all 3 of them on and off so you can hear the difference. We'll start with all our compressors off on the first line, and we'll turn them all back on for the second line. And you will be able to hear how much more energy, how much more evenness is brought on without it sounding overcompressed or without it sounding like you're doing all of your work, hitting it with the hammer of one compressor doing a giant amount of compression. So off, then on.
He was everything a dad should be. And he loved us with all he had.
Big difference. So instead of it being super slammed, we've divided up our gain reduction amongst all these compressors, and we get a much smoother sound, a lot more energy, because that's what compressors are going to do for us, and a much better sound than where we were to begin with. Now, what comes with compression is when you're really hitting down all these frequencies, then what's going to possibly happen to you if you have somebody who's really sibilant when they sing and they've got a lot of S's and T's. When you're compressing and compressing and compressing, they're really going to come out and get in your face and try to chop your head off with those dramatic tss and t that are going to really fly into your ears. So to combat that and still be able to really use our compressors in such a way to improve us, we use de-essers. So I start with a de-esser.
He was everything a dad should be.
See, that jumps with the S's. So there's one up front. And then we've got this compressor. And then after that compressor, I've got another de-esser.
He was everything a dad should be.
Trying to knock down what's going to get brought up. And then I do some more compression. And then I've got yet another.
He was everything a dad should be.
De-esser. If I turn all those off, you will really hear the difference in these S's. So let's turn off our de-essers.
He was everything a dad should be.
Very, very prominent. Turn them back on.
He was everything a dad should be.
Now it's much more even and much more bearable, but we still get to have the benefit of the serial or stacked compression. Really big, helpful trick to use on super dynamic vocals. So I hope you really found all that helpful, useful. So remember to divvy up your compression over the course of several compressors instead of doing it all in one place, unless that's a sound you're going for, and then stack de-essers in between them to try to keep your sibilants under control so you're not bothering the listener. Let me know if you try this, if it works, how it works. Any comments or questions, leave them below. One more time, subscribe, and thank you very much for hanging out today.